Wolverine is a character that was specifically designed to be joining the all-new X-Men, yes, the team that premiered in the Giant-Size X-Men in 1975. Yes, everybody thinks that he was created as a secondary character for the Incredible Hulk, and it is true that his very first appearance was in Incredible Hulk issue 180, but there are enough evidences that support the idea that Wolverine was specifically created to be joining the all-new X-Men. This book, The X-Men Companion from 1981, has a number of interviews with Marvel creators, and specifically there's an interview with Roy Thomas where he's specifically saying the following quote: "My only other part in the new X-Men besides getting it going and the international idea in general was to make a few vague suggestions to them. Then Wynn was the writer assigned to the Giant-Size X-Men and the project of relaunching the series, right?" And he continues, quote, "The only other thing that I suggested to him over lunch was that I thought it was time we had a Canadian hero. There was talk about names like Captain Canuck, Captain Canada, and things of that sort. And I suggested that since we have a Canadian market, I felt guilty about not having more Canadian heroes in the comics. The X-Men should have a character that I suggested to be called the Wolverine because that animal inhabits Canada as well as the northern United States and will be familiar to both. He could be Canadian and he could be really fierce," he says with stress on that word. Also in the same book, there's an interview to Len Wein where the interviewer is asking specifically the following: "Now, before the new X-Men series began, you already created Wolverine. Was that done with the intention of putting him later in the book?" And he confirms, he says, yes. Let's think for a moment in the timeline, right? The initial discussion for reviving the series, the new X-Men with an international team, took place by late 73. The release date for The Incredible Hulk 180 with the first appearance of Wolverine was by June 74. The cover date for the Giant-Size X-Men was June or July 75. But it is true that, according to Dave Cockrum, the work for the Giant-Size X-Men started around 74, early 74, because he remembers that it took a long time for him to complete the comic book by any reason. Finally, we need to think that the whole idea of the new X-Men and the international X-Men was delayed several times by Marvel because there was not a writer available for accomplishing it. First it was Roy Thomas, but he was really busy, and there was the idea of having someone Friedrich doing it, and finally was Len Wein that took over the responsibility, and that was in